Why do leaders find it difficult to do what you're saying, right? So it's so
Yeah.
it's so apparent, right? So you said you had three leaders in CIA whom you
Yeah.
work with different leadership styles,
Yeah.
and what you're saying is common sense.
Yeah. Of course.
But why is it so difficult to implement it in a in a work
Yeah.
environment?
To be honest, and I don't want to reduce anything to one cause, but I think a big part of that is ego. I think a lot of people feel like, oh gosh, if I do something wrong, then it shows that I'm weak. And if I'm weak, then I can't be a leader anymore. And it's this obsession with being right and doing things perfectly and never making a mistake. And again, the reality of life is everyone at every stage of life and careers and all up and down an organization, everyone will screw up at some time. Everyone will. Everyone will get it wrong. Everyone will make a mistake. Everyone will do something that either is a huge catastrophe or a small one. But everybody will screw up. And yet we still expect the leaders to get everything right all the time. And that, I think, is an unrealistic expectation. So society has a part to play in it because we do demand a lot of our leaders or expect them to be perfect when nobody can be. But then the second part is that the leaders themselves often have this ego thing about, oh, well, look at me. I've got this title now and I'm so important and I'm making all this money. And so I have to justify my salary and my position by always seeming like I know all the answers and I have everything figured out, when oftentimes I don't, right? And so again, it's that the ego combined with all of the other sort of noise and the pressures that can sometimes create these really toxic environments where people can't feel like they can make, a mistake or feel like they're constantly being scrutinized. And look, sometimes it is the realities, you've got boards, you've got shareholders, and they might not be as enlightened as you want them to be. So I'm not saying it's just people's egos are getting overinflated. It's a combination of things. And I think, having more leaders who are, again, it's become a bit of a buzzword, but who are vulnerable, who are acknowledging when they get things wrong and acknowledging when they get things right and not afraid to admit when they've made a mistake. I think that will go a long way into sort of shaking up some of these, again, these really crazy expectations we have for leaders to always be perfect. Because the reality, and this comes back to my time in the CIA, the world always changes. You can have the best plan, the most detailed mission, the most detailed, sort of organizational strategy and all of the best people working on it. And then when you bring that paper exercise into the reality of the world, it meets customers, it meets shareholders, it meets the economy, it meets global pandemics, it's confronting, unexpected wars in Ukraine. All of these things outside of your control can totally destabilize the most beautifully, perfectly put together plan. And so the reality, again, is for the leaders to acknowledge, look, I can only control what I can control. I can't control what, Russian presidents do. I can't control, pandemics coming out of the blue, that nobody could have foreseen. I can't control, the bigger things that are happening around us. So as a leader, I have to make a decision, given all of this uncertainty, given this rapidly changing things that sometimes can change overnight. I have to be willing to adapt sometimes, to make a decision, because you can't just be paralyzed all the time, because that's not what leaders do. So to make a decision, and then to always be willing to change, not total course of everything, but to adapt or to pivot or to just make tweaks to that plan. Because like I said, when it meets reality, the most perfect plan will always fall apart. And not all of it. Some things might stand the test of being, sort of confronted with battle, actual battle or commercial battle. But a lot of the times a lot of things won't. And so it's having that humility to know, okay, well, now we made this decision with the best of intentions, with the best information we had in the moment. This is the situation we're in now. What can we control and what can we do from here to make it less of a disaster than it might otherwise be?